Awesome. Firstly, I want to start with a bit of gratitude. I'm very thankful for your time today. Okay, so I really appreciate that you have invited me in. I get this time and this platform to speak to you all as well. Why are you here? I like that you giggle. To make films, yeah? So you're in college to make films. That's it, is it? And animate, okay?
Explore areas of media.
To explore areas of media, fantastic. So I'm sure there's some photographers, there's some filmmakers. Are there any artists? Are there any creatives as well? Excellent. I like that you put your hand up nice and firmly there. A lot of artists, you say, are there any artists? And they're like, not me. And somebody like, this person's amazing. And I'm like, yeah. So something I want to talk to you a little bit about today is where I'm at now and my journey. I want to make it relatable to you. So I'm kind of starting with when I was your age, when I was at college as well. So we've established that you're here to learn about filmmaking. To learn about media, explore it in different ways. So there's a number of different media companies that I've worked with over the years, starting mainly with one of the biggest ones that was the Extreme Channel. I've worked with Channel 4, I've worked with S4C, with the BBC quite a lot, with ITV and with a lot of private filmmakers as well. So something I want to talk to you a bit about today as well is this entrepreneurial mindset. And within work roles now, whether you're working as a freelancer, whether you're working as part of a team, whether you're contracted, whether you're employed, people like myself are looking for intrapreneurs. That's people that can be created within my business, that I might be able to set you up and say, here's a project, I need you to run with that, and you need those skills as well. So this is me. I actually sit as the director of 4 companies at the moment. Some of them you might recognise. I don't really recognise this one here because we've had a lot of publicity over the last 4 years. We've been on the BBC a number of times as well. So my main one and my first one was BRD Gravity Centre, which is a limited company. Does anybody know what a limited company is? So it's limited by liability. It's a company that is set up for its shareholders as well. So we do have shareholders, we have people that own parts of the company, and we do look to turn a profit. So it is a profit-making organisation, even though we do operate a bit like a social enterprise in some respects. Whereas Surfability here is purely a CIC, which is a community interest company. We do it for the community. So it's not about making money, it's a not-for-profit. Money that we make goes back into the company. It doesn't mean I take a wage out of that company, I still make a living out of it, but I don't earn, I don't aim to make lots of money. I do it for the benefit of our members, okay? And the same with these two as well. We've got Boardability and the CAP, the Callan ADHD project, which are kind of new ones as well. These are my 2 main ones. We flick to the next slide, please. So what does the Gravity Centre do? We basically take people from the top of a hill to the bottom of the hill in the most fun way possible. Yeah? We started as board riding development, and we started focusing on mountain boarding, it's like off-road skateboarding. Are there any skaters? Skate? A few skaters? Do you like street? Do you like cruising? What do you like doing?
I like street cruising.
Nice. Do you live locally? Or? Yeah, so we run sessions in Gowerton as well. So if you did want to come and volunteer and help out as well, we run some really inclusive skate sessions. So I don't know with a lot of you guys whether you've been to a skate park and it feels quite daunting, and you're sort of like, there's people that are pretty gnarly here as well, and you don't really know where to start. So we hire out big sports halls, and then we actually get people in, we stick some music on, we bring in a couple of ramps, and we make it very accessible for people. So we started with mountain boarding, that was our main focus. And then as a business over time I realised, so everybody in this room, I'm going to give you a free lesson on one of these boards. Stick your hands up if you want a free lesson. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3. So let's have a little quick demographic here as well. So that's under 50%, I'm offering it for free. So can you see as a business model, I've just done some market research there, and I will, all of you, if you want to come and support a session, I'll give you a free lesson, no problem at all. You come and volunteer your time and I'll give you my skills and my time as well so you can have a go, okay? And I'm not lying about that, just I'll give you the contact details later, you can let me know later, okay? So we run sessions on these in parks throughout Swansea. We have a centre on North Gower. We've been down in Pembrey Country Park this morning as well, running those sessions as well. How about a scooter? Who would ever go on a scooter? Who's been on a scooter before? Stick your hands up. Yeah, so this is a dirt scooter. It's basically an off-road version of a street or a micro scooter, but far more accessible. It was interesting, so all your hands went up then. There was more on a scooter than on a mountain bike. So I look at barriers to participation in terms of market research. Why don't people want to have a go on a mountain board? Can I ask, who didn't want to go on a mountain board? Can I ask why? Why do you want to go? Why do you want to go?
Scary, isn't it?
Scary. And exactly that. That's the biggest barrier that I face in terms of participants. Mostly because mountain boarding's got a bit of a bad rep. People have looked at it and gone, oh, and it's normally because of skaters. And I know this very well, yeah? Because a skater buys a mountain board and goes, right, there's a massive hill. Gets to the top of the hill, gets on it, gets halfway down it and goes, oh, I don't really know how to stop or turn, and they try and jump off. They normally do the splits quite badly, end up doing a hip, a knee, and then bump their head, and go, oh, that's not skating, I don't want to do that, that's not for me. You wouldn't do that in surfing, would you? You wouldn't, when you first go out on a 20-foot wave, and be like, yeah, I'm going to have a go at this, because you'd get totaled, and you'd expect to get totaled. But because it's accessible, mountain boarding has been held up by that. So what we do, that's why we've launched a company called Boardability, which is our accessible board sports company as well, because we do different techniques. Everybody in this room, within half an hour, I can get you riding a hill on a mountain board really well, without a problem, and confidently as well. And what that does for a lot of people, we work with a program called the Us Girls program, and it's about instilling confidence in teenage girls through the use of mountain boards. Because just that act of getting on a board and saying, well, I'm going to ride down this hill, can be quite scary. And then once you've done it, you get this enormous feeling of well-being, and you're actually very confident in yourself because you've overcome that barrier. Okay? And something about being entrepreneurial, it is constantly overcoming problems and barriers, and I'm going to go a little bit more into this in a bit as well. We also have our buggies. You can see that? Who's played Mario Kart? Excellent. So basically, we wanted to recreate Mario Kart in real life. So that's what we've done with these buggies. We race down hills. I might go against you down the hill, sir. We might have a different weapon that we hit targets. If I hit the target, I get bullseye. It's going to cover you in bubbles as you go down the hill. So really interactive, really engaging. Okay. So lots of fun. We have our sledges as well that are super accessible. So that's what the Gravity Centre looks like. Let's click on to the next one, Lewis. So can you see here? This is a classic example, yeah? What we actually do as a company, sorry, I've moved, Chris. What we do as a company is we don't teach you how to mountain board, we don't teach you how to skate, we don't teach you how to surf. We put smiles on faces. That's actually what we sell. Okay? Now, can you see this smile? Because this smile looks a bit like your smile if you were riding down the hill. Yeah? It's a bit, actually, she's about to go down quite a big hill, and she was a bit nervous, but she wanted to appear cool and I'm okay. Whereas Jake, he's really into it. He's like, this is easy, I'm really. And these are two different characters that we kind of find as our clients. Some people are a bit scared, and they have a further distance to travel in terms of their psyche. They overcome that barrier bigger. But I tell you what, she had a far bigger rush from her experience than he did on that day. He's got to go a bit more extreme to do that. Now I've got to do like a massive backflip to get a thrill from it, because I pushed it to that level. It's just what happens, yeah? Next one please, Lewis. So there's our sledges, these are super accessible. Now, I want to touch on this, on what being an entrepreneur is kind of like in some respects as well, in terms of making money. I've never been too monetary focused, but a few years back, I'm trying to think now, what was the year, Chris? Do you remember when we had Whiteout? The whole of the UK was covered in snow. Was it 2018, was it? Something like that anyway, I can't remember which year it was for sure. But there were headlines everywhere, UK Whiteout. And then it had no snow in Swansea underneath it. And the whole of the UK was white, and the satellite images with the whole of the UK, Swansea and Gower, were just brown. It was like, what? What's happened here? But I saw these headlines, and part of being an entrepreneur is picking up on those almost unique selling points that you can hit. Yeah, jumping on the media and being like, oh, I'm going to get involved in this. And I knew about these sledges before then. As soon as I saw that happen, I was like, my headlines and my taglines were no snow in Swansea, no problem, come and see the Gravity Centre. We've got sledges that don't need snow. So I went out straight away and I had to take a risk. So I had to spend the money on, we got 4 sledges at the time, it was about $2.5 grand, something like that, yeah? So I had to take that risk. But now off the back of that, it's made our lives when we're delivering a lot easier. Say you've got like 15 to 20 8 to 10-year-old boys in particular that have turned up for a birthday party. Do you have any idea how frothy they are? They're just buzzing. They're like a few batteries sort of like just exploding, and they're all over the place. If I try and give them a lesson in mountain boarding, nothing at all. None of them listen. They're running about like a load of crazy fools. So we get them on the sledges. They're really easy. You get on the sledge, straight down the hill. They're like, whoa, massive buzz. Get off, and they're like, and they're going to walk up a massive hill. They walk up a massive hill, and then they're like lovely individuals because they've let that energy out. Then I can teach them. So for us as a business, and we charge £2.50 extra per person to do the sledges as well. Everybody does it. If they don't do it, I'm going to throw it in for free because it's going to be easier for us as well. Yeah. So we add value to our customers, but I had to take a risk to do that. But I saw that media coverage opportunity, and that's what I jumped on. Yeah. So that's kind of what being an entrepreneur is a bit like. Next one, please, Lewis. So we also develop mountain boarding as a sport. Something I started with, quite a few years ago was actually skating. Was where I started, and one of our aims then was to make it recognised by other sports, is to make it an Olympic sport. And the last Olympics, surfing and skating were both in there. Okay. Next one, and then our buggies as well. So something we're looking at our buggies as well at the moment is how to make it more accessible for people. We've got a lot of customers that have limb difference, maybe a leg missing, an arm missing, so how we can make it more engaging and easier for them to use as well. But these are phenomenal fun. I'm sure you've seen them with a kite on the beach. We've made adaptations to make them better downhill, but the great thing is they really embrace the weather we have here. So we had a few really wet winters, and even with the boards and the sledges, they struggled to go when it was so wet. They've got bigger tyres. So in the wet, they just turn sideways, and there's nothing more exciting than going sideways when you're supposed to be going that way. Yeah, there really isn't if you've ever tried it. That's what you need to do. Yeah. So the buggies are phenomenal fun, really accessible and really easy as well. Okay, next slide, please. Let's have a look here. So we are going on to surfability now. So BRD Gravity Centre is a limited company. We do aim to turn a profit. We look at stag parties, hen parties, birthday parties, getting tourists engaged, and we do look to make money. Yeah. We do it by putting smiles on faces, so that's what we want to do. Yeah, so what I say to all my instructors when they're training, make sure that person's safe first, and then they're happy. I don't really care about progression, but I do care about them having a good time, and that's what we focus on with that. Surfability is a completely different kettle of fish. Does anybody know what surfability is and what we do? So what we do is we make the ocean and surfing as inclusive as possible. Now, you'd probably recognise this fella here, because he's the face of the company. He goes on the telly all the time. He's called Ben as well. He's a Benjamin and I'm a Benedict. Okay? And I actually met this chap in 2006 when I was running a surf school in Caswell Bay. And I'd just been on a trip. You've got to imagine this, picture this scene. I'd just been on a trip to Portugal where the waves were really good, really hard, fast, barreling waves, super exciting. Came back to Caswell on Gower, and there's like tiny little waves that are just rubbish. It was a nice sunny day. And Ben's walking out to sea with this funny looking surfboard, and he's all sort of gangly and a bit all over the place, and he was like, "Oh wow, you work at a surf school?" And he was like just so full of the stoke and the excitement on surfing. I was like, "Oh, he's a lovely bloke." So I chatted to him, and I was like, "Yeah, it's great, we do instructor training as well." And he was like, "I'd love to be a surf instructor." And I was like, "Oh, amazing, well this is something we can help you with for sure." And he was just so happy. But something about Ben as well, he's dyspraxic. So everybody know what dyspraxia is? So it's like physical dyslexia, so hand-eye coordination, yeah? Being able to juggle, being able to move your hands, things like that. It might take him 1,000 times, something that takes me 10 times to learn. I've always been quite athletic. When I was younger, I did basketball, boxing, rugby, and I was always at quite a high level as well. So I've been quite blessed with that, whereas Ben doesn't have that. Now I remember when he was doing his instructor training, I was a bit naive as well. I was sort of like, this guy's going to really struggle with the basic skills to deliver a surf lesson because it takes him so long. So what I started looking at then is actually training him on a skateboard, training him on a mountain board to reinforce that action over and over and over so his brain to hand coordination was really good, yeah? And it built over time, and it actually gave him kind of a superpower. I know this sounds a bit cheesy and a bit sort of like, but by him taking so long to learn, he has this patience and understanding that everybody moves in different ways and at different speeds. And it gives him this ability to make things far more accessible and take a lot more time. But actually to get people like Kai, who's quadriplegic cerebral palsy, so limited strength and movement in his arms and his legs. So what started with a bath seat on the front of a surfboard, we've now got a fleet of surfboards that are made by a top-end shaper that are designed. So we were down Pembrey this morning. It was pretty wild down there this morning. on a board, and we do, you know, we wipe out and we capsize occasionally, but what a beautiful thing to allow every different person to take that risk and have that fun, no matter who they are, yeah? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you a lovely little video that, something I've been working on. I work as a partnership director as well for the companies as well, and we've just managed to land sponsorship by O'Neill Wetsuits. I don't know whether anybody that knows anything about surfing, but O'Neill are the top. They're the best. They always have been. They're the guys that came up with the first wetsuit. So it's, you know, it's a really good partnership, and we're making a series of films at the moment. I can't show you some of them, so they haven't been released yet, but I can